Main phase.
Hello and welcome to the first of my July streams, where I've gone for the theme of Jewel or Junk, and I want the audience to get involved with this theme. You know, I'm going to play some games in MAME, a random selection today. I've not really thought too much about them, but I want everybody in the chat to decide if they're games that are worth being called Jewels or maybe Junk. Now, for the games that really split the opinion, I might put them in just average, but ideally, you know, I want to see some commitment to deciding if something is jewel or something is junk, and you know, I think we can do that, can't we? So, hey, good evening, Santeri, as well, and of course, good evening to everybody who has been chatting before the stream has started. I believe I've said good evening in the actual chat to everybody, but if I haven't, good evening to you, and I'll go through the names in a little bit. Now, one of the things I want to do with the stream also is have a look at some of the recent improvements in MAME, which is why I'll be starting with at least one of these Konami games. In the case of the one running at the moment, you've got Winding Heat down there. So that's one of 3 Konami games that Vil has been improving recently. Well, let me just go through the names now then. We've got Bob was first in the chat, asking if I doodle. I doodle not really, but you know, I decided to do a little bit of art for the stream, the preview inches this for this month. And we've got David, we've got SB, we've got Cow, moo to you, Cow. Who else we got? We've got me, because I was replying to everybody. We've got the Ogre, our regular tagger of timestamps, which is incredibly useful. So thank you for that, Ogre, and welcome. We've also got R09, one of the people with a great interest in the Japanese systems. I don't think we've got much Japanese today in terms of systems, but we've probably got some Japanese arcade games. Extreme Rec, who's been here quite a bit recently, so welcome to you too. And Smedis, welcome. I've seen you on Twitter a bit, I believe. Aussie Guy, Mo Burma, and of course Super Volteca, Stephen, another one of the regulars, Santeri, who I said hi to, and I think Thomas as well. Thomas, one of the Scum VM devs. So, happy International Kissing Day. Oh, I've not got any kiss-themed games. Could put the Data East one on. Nah, that'll be alright. The pre-show was just people chatting, so you've not really missed much. You bought one of those Lexibook consoles, Smedis. No, it's really not worth it. I'm tempted to try and hack one of them, to be honest. Nikki and Bunty did say they'd send me the one they did for their stream, and I might try customising the SD card and see if I can get the internal ROM out of it. Anyway, volume backup time to some reasonable level. This thing I think is quite quiet. Video change to horizontal. Full screen. And right. So, Vil has been working on improving the emulation of these ones. Previously, they did kind of run, but the video would flicker quite badly, and the game would sometimes lock up. Now, as you can see, the video is generally solid, which is a big improvement. So these have been marked as working in MAME for a long time. But I would argue until the last week or so, they've never really worked. But now you see, nice and playable. Now, doesn't mean I'm going to be any good at them. But I was practicing this a little bit for an offline video. I was going to cover this progress too. But I thought I'd just blend it with the stream. Now, the thing with this game is it's a road race, so you've got traffic on the other side to have dodged to. I've noticed these Konami games have interesting collisions. You tend to go through things a little bit, but that's not a bad thing. Yeah, sometimes you don't go through them. Is this a racing game made for intellectuals? No, I'd say it's a very simplified arcade racing game. There's nothing overly complex about it, and it's definitely not made for anybody who wants realistic physics or handling or collisions or anything like that. It's actually quite a simple racing game, I'd say. And it's one of 3 Konami games I'd like to look at because they're all running the same driver, the ZR107. And yes, it tells me it's the final lap, even though this is a Konami game. I think only Namco should be allowed to use the term final lap. I don't care if it's a generic term used in racing all over the place. Some jet fighters overhead there. Now I think this is the only track that has those special element there. And I did not make it to the checkpoint. And no, nobody has fixed Racing Force, Cow. Racing Force is very difficult to fix. And its Vil mainly concentrates on the 3D hardware. I mean, the original progress from years ago was, I believe, was his progress 2. And he's come back to it. I guess he's had some spare time recently, so we have benefited from seeing lots of improvements. Now, if you hold down the brake pedal, you can enter time attack mode, which takes away the oncoming cars. Maximum speed. Well, I don't think outside of people who play arcade games anybody really associates Final Lap with Namco. It was, it's not. I don't think there are any Final Lap entries on newer consoles even. But having, you know, spent a little longer than I would like playing Final Lap games recently, every time I see the word Final Lap, I now just think of Final Lap. Get out my way. Now, I don't know what the general feeling about this game is. If people like it, if they don't like it. I've not seen many people talk about it. It seems to have come out in that period where there were other, maybe more impressive games coming out, where people were more drawn to those. I mean, this is mid-90s. And I don't think it's technically a bad game. And the road race element with the oncoming traffic makes it a bit different, although I've disabled that for this race because it's a bit easy without it. But it's fast and it's smooth and it looks good. I think one of the games on the hardware at least did get ported to the PlayStation. I think that was Midnight Run, though, Road Fighter 2. But maybe some of the others did and I'm just not aware of it. Now, I'm not sure if there are drift mechanics in this, because whenever I try to drift, I just seem to slow down and lose time. And I guess there's some rubber banding. No collision detection would be better. Yeah, the collisions are a bit strange. You do kind of just stop sometimes or go through things. Third. When I was practicing, I finished this race in first. Third is a bit of a disappointment. You've not got to this one yet. I'll be having a look at Midnight Run in a bit, too, Mo. When I tested it earlier, it froze on this screen, this game. But, say, Villa's since put some extra fixes in to fix this up too. Although those letters are disappearing a little bit there. So, it's not yet perfect. I mean, you could see the letters disappearing as I was entering them there. And say this high score screen here does have some incorrect colours on the cars. So there's still work to be done. But, you know, it's a massive improvement over how it was before. Yeah, it runs well. I mean, I can speed it up here and I can get 400% on the screen. So it runs perfectly fast. 300% on the screen, 400% on the screen, 250% in game. So it runs pretty well, considering, you know, I was struggling to get one of the Game & Watch things to run at full speed earlier for reasons I can't understand. For some reason, my PC seems to have decided it only wants to run those really slowly, some of them with the more complex art. And I don't know why, because I've not really done anything apart from update Windows and update graphic drivers. So, yeah. And even when I tried an old version of MAME, it was still slow. But yes, the oncoming traffic is the challenge in this one, definitely. Because without it, it's pretty easy to complete the lap. Or both laps. There are only 3 courses, and the 2 modes. Plenty of cars, surprisingly. You do get a big selection of cars, and you get to customize them. So, you know, selecting maximum speed before. You can also select better grip or better acceleration. And the original game is quite well known for having link cabinets, so you have the option to race against a friend, which MAME doesn't do at the moment. So here we go. But yeah, again, it's a good demonstration of the fact that MAME, given, you know, the right hardware to emulate, can do a pretty good job of 3D. I mean, there's no 3D acceleration going on here. This is software rendered, but the rest of the system isn't too bad as far as the emulation goes. I think there's a recompiler on the Shark, and is it a PowerPC other than that? Or was it 68K on these ones? I don't remember actually. I'd have to have a look. Now, there were improvements to some games in other drivers too. GTI Club has been improved a fair bit. The replays at the end of the level, for example, now play properly rather than jumping all over the place. See, I never managed to finish it on this mode. So yeah, what was I saying? What is the hardware here? Yeah, PowerPC and a 68K. So I was right on both fronts, but I think the 68K is for the sound, probably. Shall we do a lap of the advanced course? I didn't do road race mode, but which card do I want? Let's go for the green one. Let's go for acceleration. Now, the fact you can tune the cars so much kind of, I guess, takes away their uniqueness, but minor gripe there, I guess. Now, I don't know if there are still missing 3D effects. There are some videos of this running on original hardware, but the quality of them isn't really that good, so I can't tell how accurate MAME's emulation is. But it looks pretty good to me. And like I said, this progress will be in the next release. It runs fast and smooth, and yeah, generally looks pretty accurate to me. I don't think the odd collisions are an emulation thing. I think that's just, hey, look, let's make an unrealistic arcade racing game. Until I've not got any handling on this car. That is for sure. Boom. Now, I did at first think some of those people in the audience were cows because they're very black and white, but then I slowed down and stopped and realised they are just people, unfortunately. So this is not a cow game. I have not found a single cow in this game. And that's kind of a shame. Because you know what racing games are like for having cows in them. It appears to be one of their favourite pastures. But alas, this will not be on the cow stream when that happens. I'll catch up with the chat briefly because this credit is almost over. Yeah, I didn't make it. Did not make it. Konami RF2. Yes, I might be looking at that another time. Yeah, on this one, the graphic hardware is Konami custom. On some Konami games, they use Voodoos. I mean, like Hang Pilot is Voodoo based, for example, but otherwise quite similar to GTI Club. But anyway, yeah, that was that one. That was Winding Heat. But yeah, I would be looking at RF2 because I did think RF2 stood for Road Fighter 2. You know, Road Fighter 2, Red Fighter. Apparently it doesn't, though, because Midnight Run, Road Fighter 2. Or Konami just forgot. You tell me. Ooh, controversial, Bob, controversial. So this is one of the other games on the same hardware that you know has benefited from the same set of improvements that Real made. The graphics now no longer flicker. The game no longer, to my knowledge, locks up. And I mean, I'm going to say it's probably based on the same game engine as Midnight Run. No, as Winding Heat even. This is Midnight Run. But yeah, I don't know why they've gone for a Road Fighter 2 subtitle. Because if you've played Road Fighter, it's nothing like this. Other than being a racing game, there is nothing I can find in common between them. Oh yeah, the one thing about these games, you can set automatic or trans manual with a button at any time. You can swap between them. This doesn't have as many cars. So let's go for the medium. Starlight Heat Track. Doesn't even have the startup jingle. Oh, I'm in the car view. I don't like that type of view. So let's go outside the car. Although we can go back in the car. There are two views. But yeah, this is, I guess it's one of those typical Japanese highway racing games. I've seen a fair few. I mean, I think the PlayStation had a few, didn't it? And this one's got an annoying encouragement from somebody who's probably in the car with you, criticising your driving or congratulating you whenever you overtake people. And this road is busy. So I guess it's a highway, it's meant to be busy, and again I guess that is the novelty of these games. I mean, in this case there's not traffic coming in the opposite direction, so that sets it aside from Winding Heat. I guess I'm still getting mixed up. But otherwise, yeah, it's quite similar. This one was ported to the PlayStation, yes. But I guess the PlayStation version is going to look a fair bit worse. This is a decent looking game. For the time it came out. I mean, obviously, even compared to maybe later PlayStation games, it doesn't hold up quite as well. Although the graphics are going to be crisper here. Although there's not that much detail. Oh yeah. So in terms of the Jewel or Junk, where do people think Winding Heat should go? The first one I was playing. Do you think that one was a Jewel or Junk? I mean, I personally, I think for the time it was released, it's probably lower end of Jewel. I definitely wouldn't say it was Junk. And I think if you had both cabinets, you know, it'd be quite a fun two-player game. So where do people in the chat think that one would go? Any opinions, or are we gonna put it in lower end of Jewel? A Jewelunk. It's difficult to really have an opinion on some of these earlier 3D games because not all of them have aged too well, but I think that one has aged reasonably well. Any opinions? Or Jewel, got Jewel from Bob Schultz there. Smedis liked how the graphics looked. I mean, I'm going to guess this one's going to end up in the same category as whatever Winding Heat ends up. You give it a 3 out of 10 cars. Ooh, that's kind of junk territory then, Ogre. You find, I mean, I'm looking for opinions on the previous one, Winding Heat, for now. You're going with Jewel R9. Okay. I think we've got a few undecideds and a few Jewels and one 3 out of 10 there. So far. Yeah, I think it's going to go lower end of the Jewel scale. I'll put it in there in a second. Yeah, at the time, I mean, we're talking that sort of mid-90s when everybody was trying their hand at 3D, and yeah, it holds up pretty well. I didn't really like it when I first played it. That's the thing with that one. At the first time I played it, I thought, not much here, but it seems well enough balanced to keep playing it. And again, yeah, if you had 2 players, I think that would make a difference. This one I'm less sure of, actually, because this one is less interesting. It doesn't have the oncoming traffic. So I'm actually tempted to say I much prefer Winding Heat. Winding Heat has a better selection of cars as well, whereas this only has a handful. And more variety in the tracks. So I did just say that these might end up in the same category, but I'm bordering on thinking that maybe Winding Heat is the Duel and this one is maybe more upper end, you know, not bad junk, but I don't know. We'll see. You also have to do more laps on this one. Winding Heat is very to the point. You get your 2 laps. On this one I think you're doing, what, 3 laps, 4 laps? Passing car. I mean, the cars passing, I guess, is in the original Road Fighter. But otherwise... Yeah, she's really annoying. And that's one thing I don't like about this one. So that girl is actually really annoying. But anyway, I think... Yeah, Villa is the Duel for the improvements. This is true, Bob. So shall we put Winding Heat and Vil. So I have probably can't read that. I have placed into Duels Winding Heat and Vil because, you know, why not? I'll give this another credit, but it's not hooking me the same way as the other one did. The collision's about the same, but I did it. Indeed, I passed them. I don't even know what she says when you get overtaken. Yeah, this is the advanced course, so lots of corners that catch it out. But yeah, the tracks otherwise aren't too distinct in this. They're all just these highway races. Anyway, after this race, I'll be moving on to another game. But yeah, so where would you put this one? I think the game's just like that, Tony. I tried to find original hardware videos, but the people playing the original hardware didn't crash as much. But they looked a little bit off. Yeah, the girl is doing a bit of a Bubsy on us, isn't she? Or an awesome possum on us, or one of those other overly talkative characters. Now I am just playing this on an Xbox pad. Oh dear. So real steering wheel would probably make it a bit better, although it doesn't play too badly on pad, to be honest. We can't waste our time on this dork? Is that what she said? I really don't know. I wonder if the Japanese version's got a less annoying voice. Yeah, MAME's mapping of controls to pads isn't always great. On a mouse it's less twitchy, but then you run out of space to turn and it gets annoying. But yeah, MAME's you set sensitivity to 1. It's exactly the same as any other value for Xbox pads. It's a bit silly. I don't really understand it. I think MAME's analog controls do need a bit of an overhaul, to be quite honest. It's probably higher pitch would make it even worse. No, sadly. Are you talking about the voice? Oh no, the secret code. I like the attract intro in this. I think that's really stylish. I love the way the car goes into the camera and then it pans out to that. But I like the attract sequence more than I like the game. I don't know. Now, unless anybody does have any objections, I'm going to put this one under junk because that girl's annoying. So, right, that one has gone into junk. So there we go. Okay, shall we move on from Konami racing games? Because, we've just done 2 Konami racing games in a row. But they have both improved in MAME, so, you might want to check them out come the next release. And say, Winding Heat seems the better of the 2. Now, it was asked about this in the chat earlier, but let's load up Pac-Carnival, 1996 Namco, on the same hardware as similar hardware as some of the cave shooters. I don't want to say the same hardware because really the only thing they share is a sprite and sprite and time map chip and CPU. Let's reset. Let's reset. You have to reset a few times. There we go. So, it wasn't on my initial shortlist, Robert, but it's one I might consider if we... hold on, I'll add it to the potential list. Do you want me to... I'll add it to the potential list. There we go. It's on the potential list, Robert. And hey, welcome to the chat as well. I don't remember you being in the chat before, and if you just subscribed last week, that would make sense. So welcome, and everybody say hi to Robert, who is new here. We've got a nice little community here. We've got quite a few regulars who are often here. So anyway, this one was dumped by Phil Bennett a few months ago, and it didn't work. And I had a look into fixing it. I thought maybe it relied on the content of the backup RAM's protection, something like that. It turns out I'm an idiot, and it was just the video registers and things were mapped in the wrong place. It's different to the pack slot game that was done before. So Devin Acker fixed this, I believe, yesterday, and so it now works. What is it? Well, it's basically a roulette game with Pac-Man. It's very pretty, very well animated, but you put in your coins and you place your bets. Now there is meant to be a bet 12 button, but it triggers the same buttons as bet 4 and 8. So I can't bet 12, but look, if you bet, they light up. And then you press start. And Pac-Man runs around. And you press stop. Now it's the Japanese Pac-Man design with a very long nose. If you're familiar with Pac-Man, you'll know that in Pac-Man he has this design in the Japanese version and has the shorter nose outside of Japan. But that's it. I probably won some tokens there because it did land on the correct place. So I can bet maximum on 2. Yes, it's a single OKI. The board does have 2 OKIs. but the second position's not even populated. Yes, a poorly sampled version of the Pac-Man death sound there. So, yeah, how do you judge a game like this? Because if you're going to judge this as a traditional arcade game, it's definitely going to be junk, isn't it? I mean, there's not much game here. You just bet on something, you press the button, and this is the game. In terms of production values, you know, the graphics, not so much the sound, this is actually really well done. But there's no real game, is there? It's a redemption game. You know, yeah, I wouldn't really want to play this myself, so... yeah, I mean, I heard it was... The shorter nose design originally came from the cartoon Extreme Wreck, but that may have originally been for censorship reasons. Because, yeah. You've just come back on Pac-Carnival, David, which is a Japanese redemption game that was just fixed in MAME. But yeah, it's difficult to really consider it anything other than junk in terms of just a game to play, isn't it? Oh look, I won 3. And it's game over. Now, I don't know what happens if you land on the special squares. Or bet every bit of your money. There we go. Bet everything. Run, Pac-Man, run. You see, he doesn't even always stop when you press stop. He'll just trip and hop until he gets to the square it wants to land on. And that's how these gambling games work, really, isn't it? It doesn't really matter what you press. Now, I would have liked to land on one of the arrows that sends you into the middle, because if you land on one of the blue squares with the arrow on, you go to the second level, which is the sort of double up bonus thing, but I'm not going to land on one, am I? The machine's not had enough credits to want to do that. And then if you land on the right thing in the middle thing, you get the jackpot, which is the treasure chest in the middle. But yeah, it seems to be another one of those gambling games that's meant to look all cutesy, potentially just like the Mario one. You know, questionable morals in producing. How far do you want to run? Oh, there you go. He's decided to go halfway around the grid and onto that one, which I didn't think was going to happen, but there you go. And around again. And we just get what we're going to get a 2. There we go. We didn't get to the treasure chest. Yeah. But yes. I mean, on moral grounds alone, I think I have to put this under junk. As well animated as it is, it rubs me the wrong way. So, I think Pac-Carnival gets the junk status. I'm really glad it's emulated, because it's a rare piece of Pac-Man history. And it's really, you know, fascinating to see Namco using the IP like that. Although there were other Pac-Man gambling games, Pac-Man Fruit Machines. They licensed Pac-Man everywhere. And yeah, it looks fine, but it's a redemption game with no real gameplay. It's not like some of the UK Fruit Machines where there are loads of mini games to play. It's just that you just press a button and you see where it goes. You press a button, you see where you go. It's literal roulette with a Pac-Man. I don't know why Pac-Man has a female voice, Extreme Wreck. But yeah, it boots up now. because the video registered in the right place. I assume Bob was asking, and Mess Drivers there replied. So yeah, that's another fix that will be in the next version of MAME. So, no, as I said, just for the record, that one has gone into junk. So far we've got Winding Heat and Vil himself and Jules. And in junk we've got Midnight Run, Road Fighter 2 and Pac-Carnival. Hey Master Ninja, welcome. MAME does some Model 2 stuff, Robert, but there are still bugs in most of the games. I think there's a TGP emulation error that causes some physics bugs, which affects some Model 1 games like Virtua Racing 2. So the earlier Model 2 games, the 2 and 2A, are kind of playable, but it's not quite on the proper level of the Model 2 emulator yet. Right. I want to demonstrate another big bug fix, actually. Let's have a look at Mermaid. I looked at this one on a previous stream. Little did we know original hardware footage would turn up, which showed us a bunch of issues in our emulation, including the way the title screen draws there. Lots of people do want gambling games, Aussie Guy, but I'm not necessarily sure they make for good games. I mean, I'll let your message through, Robert, but well, another moderator's handled it. But can you try not to swear on the stream, please? Just in the future, just for future reference. I don't mind it occasionally, but YouTube get a bit funny if it happens too often. Hence why it ends up in the moderation queue in the first place. So, anyway, this one, it's called Yachtsman in Japan. It's called Mermaid outside of Japan. But let's credit it up and play it a little bit. Got your joystick and your buttons. So, you're controlling this sail. You can only move in the direction your sail is pointing. The other direction won't take effect unless you actually press the button to turn around. And you can catch yourself on the wind in various places. Move up to push yourself a bit faster. And there we go. We've got a little stream here for bonus points. Made by a company that made jukeboxes. If you're talking about the Rock-ola license, Rock-ola made jukeboxes, yes. The original game's by Sanritsu of Japan. I don't know if they made jukeboxes. I believe the ship, your craft is called Mermaid. I think Yachtsman was a better name. So yeah, you are this little yacht sailing. Now we've not actually got to the bit where I can demonstrate the bug fix yet. But we'll get there. Oop, I crashed. And I sunk. But those big arcades in general were very iconic. Not just the Sega ones. I mean, the big Namco ones as well. Eventually, you know, things like your Ridge Racer full scale, or even earlier than that. I mean, you've got things like Hard Drive in late '80s. That was a big machine. Oh dear. So we will get there. This is the prequel to Hydro Thunder. I think this game has a lot of charm to it. And when we get to the graphical effects, well, the graphical effect was just emulated. I think it shows a lot of effort and, you know, care was put into the game. A lot of love was put into the game. It seems like it might just be one of those simple sailing games, you know, avoid everything. But there's more to it. It's got a unique control system. There we go. So there we go. We got to the goal. It must be the Bermuda Triangle, Costado. I don't think any work is being done on Violent Storm Lo-Fi kills at the moment. There's quite a lot broken in that game, unfortunately. Game over. Yes, the music is... I do like the music as well, you're right. It's calming. It's perfect sailing music, isn't it? But yeah, Mermaid sets sail. I think the boat was called... So this is where you can, you know, get caught by the wind as well. So if your sail's going that way, you can use the wind to position yourself. Which is, again, a nice little touch. But you also have to be careful not to get blown off course, which is, again, is why changing the direction of your sail is important, even if you can only move one direction when your sail, you know, the direction your sail is pointing. So add some strategy. Here's where the effect will come in. So it's got this lighthouse effect, where you can't really see what's going on, so you have to remember it and then manoeuvre around it. And the hardware, you know, is specifically designed to do this effect. It can mask parts of the row. And this is the effect that was previously missing in MAME that has just been added. Now, there are still a few emulation bugs, apparently, with some things on the later part of the game. Oops. And I didn't pay attention to where the land was, and I crashed into it. Oh, and I'm back on the start of the section. I think it was mentioned in the last stream, Mo, but unfortunately I didn't write it down or remember it. But yeah, the music I think is actually a known tune. But yeah, you've got to watch out for where things are. Now, when this effect wasn't emulated, this section of the level just seemed incredibly easy and was making this sound for no apparent reason. But with it emulated, with the effect emulated, you can see why there are less obstacles in that part, because you've got to sort of look when you can see where you're going. It's a bit like, you know, a spotlight effect in Monaco GP, but a little bit fancier. And again, unique to this game. I can't think of any other game that does that, just like that. That lighthouse effect. Let's not get blown off course. Now, I think that wave stuck on the rank 9 there is one of the bugs. That's not meant to happen. I don't know if sprites are just meant to be masked out in that area. It's possible. But that is a bug. Yeah, it is a nice bug fix, Bob. It uses bits on the background tile map. You saw how it drew lines just before the effect happened. Because when it enables that effect, it uses some values in the tile map to mask it. It's kind of funky. On real hardware, you can't actually see the line on the right hand side, so it might be that that doesn't get drawn. That's a minor thing. I think on the line on the left hand side probably gets masked out by TV overscan. Oh, the wind caught me and crashed me. But yeah, there's a section later on in the game where some turtles are chasing you towards some kind of sea creatures. I don't know. And they're not animated properly in MAME and don't jump over the rocks. We're not quite sure why that happens yet. But again, this is why original hardware videos are important. For the longest time, we didn't know there was anything wrong with the emulation of this game. And then original hardware video showed up, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's a missing effect. And we should probably emulate it. Watch out for the reef during the night voyage. Is that what's on the Fly Aussie guy? But no, that's the effect SB. We've seen real hardware videos. But yeah, so yeah, you can fall off the boat in places too if you hit certain things, and you have to swim back to your boat the ogre. I did that in the last stream. I didn't manage to do that in this stream. But anyway, let's exit out that one. But yeah, let's just check the chat. I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay, I'm just reading back. So where do people think this one should go? Jewel or junk? I mean, personally, this one is definitely a jewel as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it gets a jewel. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's underrated. I don't think many people play it, but finding out these new graphical effects and finding out the effort that's put into it, yeah, I'm going to put this one under jewel. So let's put it up here. Definitely give it a try, and hopefully we'll work out what the rest of the issues are, how to fix those too. So yeah, Mermaid goes up there with the jewels. Yeah, it's a jewel or gem. Sorry, I went with jewel rather than a gem because it's July and J, you know, but a gem, jewel. I might say gem occasionally. Yeah, Rock-ola Jukebox Company licensed it for sale in the US and everywhere else. It's originally by Sanritsu. Yes, it is a cool, very little game, Mo. And yeah, there aren't any other games that play quite like it. There's a lot of generic, you know, boat racing games like River Patrol and Bounty, but that one's a bit different. Right. Time for something a bit different. So, Space Mission by Tronika. This runs on basically the same hardware as the Game & Watch units. And so, it looks a lot like a Game & Watch unit. It's got your Game A, Game B, and yeah, it's a bit of a knockoff of a Game & Watch, really, isn't it? Now, Alistam dumped this. Alistam is the same person who did all the Game & Watch dumping recently. Darth Marino did the artwork, and the same person that's done the artwork for all the Game & Watch ones recently. So yeah, this has been worked on by the same people as the Game & Watch, to the same standards as the Game & Watch. But we'll have a look at it as a game. I did have a few performance issues with this, so I had to take out the shadow in the artwork. I don't know what's going on there, as I mentioned, but anyway. So you've got your little guy. You've got to avoid the lasers. It kind of reminds me of Octopus in that sense, although you can't do anything here yet. Once the ship, that's clearly not a knockoff of any other kind of ship, appears, then you can fire bolts at it. Once you've fired all your bolts, you can go back up to your little ship here. Then you can come out again. So you can't fire yet because there's no ship there. The ship's there now, so we can go there and fire. Now, I do wonder if this maybe started off as Octopus and was modified in some way, because it does kind of have that slightly familiar feel to it. Hey, Ali Sam, have you been lurking? You just dumped Spider. Based on the same MCU. Yeah, I guess it's easy to create new screens for them and just reuse the same code as well with some of them. Obviously, we saw that with some of the well-known ones. Yeah, the Russian clone of Egg with the wolf. But yeah. I mean, I do have a lot of time for these Game & Watch style games, the simpler ones. Not the Tiger ones that are overly complex, but these simpler ones, I think, strike a good balance. You know, they're fun without being overly challenging. Well, some of them are challenging, but overly confusing maybe, because a lot of the Tiger ones, you just don't know what you're doing. On this one, you've got a very simple concept. You know exactly what you've got to do. And so they work. You can play them. You can kill a bunch of time with them. And they're kind of attractively designed units. I mean, there's maybe a slight element of puke green with the case here, but we'll forgive that. Yeah, the Tiger. There are very few good Tiger ones. I mean, I think Gauntlet, which is the same ROM as Robin Hood, is pretty good. But that's a much more simple game. That's a simple maze game. It's not trying to combine 100 elements into the gameplay. But this is one that was added very recently to MAME. You know, I think it was the last release. So you know, it's not been covered in any of the other Game & Watch videos I've done. And obviously it's not a real Game & Watch, it's a bit of a knockoff. But personally I think it's a decent knockoff. Oh. Let's fire up the ship. They've even named the parts a bit like Nintendo Game & Watch, haven't they? SM11 Space Mission. So you say Spider's got the same ROM as this, Ali Stam? Or am I misreading that? But yeah, the gameplay is very similar to Octopus. So what's Game B on this one? Let's have a look. Probably just a bit harder, isn't it? Starts faster. Yeah. Be interesting to see if there are code similarities with Octopus, although analysing the code for any of these is difficult. But Game B just seems to be the harder mode, which is fair enough, because it did start off quite slowly before. Yes, Game Clock, definitely not a Game & Watch. But I guess the question for this stream is, does it hold up alright? I mean, you know what Game & Watches are all about simple gameplay, positioning your character, and you know, firing your attacks when you can. It's the same as anything like that. Collecting your items when you can. And even if this isn't a Nintendo one, I think it's pretty good. You know, say you've got similar gameplay in things like Mario's Bombs Away, where you're avoiding things above you, although Game B is quite often a different game, Bob. There's a lot of them where Game B is significantly different, not just harder. It's not just like Game A, but at a higher difficulty level. Some of them are legitimately different games. Squish is the most obvious case of that. But a lot of them will have an extra thing to do that you don't have to do on Game A. It's much trickier to get the ship in Game B on this one. It disappears very quickly. Yeah, this little guy should not really be beating, you know, the big ship, which is absolutely definitely not a rip-off Enterprise or anything like that. So, anyway, yeah, and some early Nintendo arcade games have a Game A and B as well. That was mentioned on another stream. If you look at, is it High Splitter and things like that, they've got Game A, Game B, Game C. It seems to be a very Nintendo thing to do. Although, yeah, in some cases it is just difficulty. I think I turned the sound off. Okay. Don't know what I pressed to turn the sound off, but I turned the sound off. So yeah, there's not much more to show with that one. But better than a Tiger game does not make a joke. But I don't think it's junk either, Thomas. Your daughter says junk. Yeah, this one might have to go in average. might be one of those few games we have to put in average because it's a very limited platform. The game, the technology, you can't do much with it. But it's not Tiger Bad. It's not I can't play this. But it's not quite got that balance of a real Game and Watch. I think it's not quite got the Nintendo quality to it, does it? So what we got in the chat? It could be a duel to somebody who had it back in the day. Yes, SB, it could be. Extreme Rex says it's a duel, and Robert says it's a duel. Okay. So we've got more duels than I would have expected. Not we've got an average from Custado and a junk from Thomas. And Mayor from Aussie Guys I'm going to take as an average. And SB's junk, even though it could be a duel from somebody else. Oh. We've definitely got a split opinion. We seem to have more duels than anything else. The dual terminal's been ported to MAME. I don't know what you mean, Robert, in terms of dual terminals. Are you talking about dual screen Game and Watches? There's some of those in MAME. Yeah, I think we've probably got a fair balance. We've got some junks, some duals, some averages. I think probably this one ends up in just average. Oh no, we've got another duel now. The duels are coming in. I think people are pushing up to duel, aren't they? There's probably more duels. Okay, I thought that was going to go in just average, but it looks like we've actually got more duels from the chat here. So this one can go into Tronika's space mission. We can put this one in a duel. What did you miss? Well, so far on the stream, we've done Winding Heat, Mermaid, Tronika's Space Mission, Midnight Run, and Pac-Carnival, David. So if you missed any of those, that is what you have missed. You veto, Thomas. I think you were the only outright junk there, weren't you? Maybe. Or are you vetoing your daughter? I don't know. We're having anything I feel like playing, David. So, that was a recently emulated one. And again, I like to use these streams to show some recently emulated games. So, why not? Why not? Why not? Right. Okay. I did say I'd play DoDonPachi, didn't I? Now I'm going to play the PGM2 version of the game. Unfortunately, a lot of the pop stations, we've got no way of dumping them. I'd love to see them emulated, though, and those little brick games. So, this one was a request in the chat. So, you're already going with Duel on this one. Yeah, I think most people like this game, don't they? Although, is the PGM2 version a duel? It is a shooter, yes. Let's set my buttons to something different. Don't need a folder. Tong light animation. Presented by DoDonPachi is a very famous puzzle, shooter series, not puzzle games. Yeah, I think everybody's decided on this one already, haven't they? Now, the thing with the PGM2 version of this is it offers this easy mode and the original mode. And since I'm terrible at these games, I'm selecting easy mode, even though I'll still be terrible at the game. Yes, I'm terrible at these games. We will not be seeing much of these games. We'll definitely not be getting any kind of 1 credit clear of these. If you want 1 credit clears, as I've said before, watch Lord BBH's 1 credit channel. What's his stream called now? I think it's just called like 1 credit clear or something like that. He's gone from doing main roulette to doing 1 credit clears on games. And even though he streams from the US, so completely the wrong time zone, I think it's even west coast of the US, sometimes I'll leave his streams on and just sleep through most of them because they start about 1 or 2 AM here. But yeah, he was playing King of Fighters and a few others last night, 2001 I think, King of Fighters, and cleared that. But yeah, he gets through, he manages to do quite a few clears for each stream. Very good player, unlike me. Yeah, people do say the music has a few looping issues on the PGM2 version of this, but it's quite a minor thing. I mean, maybe the disappointment is this doesn't really take advantage of the PGM2 hardware at all. Despite being a different CPU, visually it's a straight port of the PGM1 version. But yeah, it runs on an ARM instead of 68K, although the original game didn't really have too much in the way of slowdowns anyway. Yes, if anybody wants to make a case for this not being a duel, please do so, because otherwise, yeah, I think the general consensus is this is a game that will be straight into the duel category. I think Taiwan got some of the Chinese regions anyway. I mean, it's done by IGS, who were from Taiwan. But sometimes I think they just use the same boards. Or maybe there's a set with the Taiwanese region set, I don't know. The region comes from the internal ROM on most of them though, so if there is, the internal ROM will need extracting. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm playing this one because it was a request. I don't think there's really any real debate or controversy, or anybody's gonna really say this isn't a duel. I do like the fact the PGM2 version does have this slightly easier mode. I mean, because I'm terrible at the games. It means I can enjoy it. Now, it isn't in English, unfortunately. The one thing with the DoDonPachi 3 set in MAME, the parent set to Dai-Ou-Jou, is that one is in English. It has English endings, although I think the only English is the endings, but it doesn't really make a difference unless you get the ending. Ooh, I'm just looking. That's not... Now I think this is probably actually my favourite of the DoDonPachi games in general. I mean, it does get very hard, especially the original. But it seems to strike a good balance. The later ones get a bit garish with all the blending, and I don't really like the theme as much. This one has a more serious theme to it still. And some really good artwork. I think that the high resolution of the PGM boards actually has resulted in some really good looking art. First death. This is probably where they'll start piling up though, because once you start to die, you lose your concentration and you tend to lose a lot more lives. Unnecessary bombs. Yeah. As I thought. Let's get rid of you. Excluder. Yeah, that's also PGM hardware. The sound emulation was improved a couple of years ago. It's pretty good now, Christian. Have you played it recently? It's that was silly. It's especially noticeable in DoDonPachi 2. If 151 isn't in MAME, then no cow. And I've not seen Metal Slug Code J, no Carlo. Pardon me. The art is great, too bad they covered it with bullets. I've heard that said before. I've heard people wanting cheats for the game so there are no bullets just so they can admire the backgrounds. But yeah, I think DDP DOJ goes into Duel. I think that's an obvious one. I'm not writing out the full title, I'm just writing out DDP DOJ. I'm not even writing it's the PGM2 version, but there you go. That is now on the Duels list. The PS2 port has a no bullets mode. If they ported it to the Spectrum, it'd have to have no bullets. Yeah, the PGM1 cave games are really, really good. They're actually, I think, their best work. Although they're produced under quite stressful conditions, by all accounts. Rebooted Mitchell, well, welcome back. Good to see you here. Sorry, I've not been keeping up with all the chat, but yeah, is PGM2 accurate? I think PGM2 is pretty accurate. Right, let's look at something new. Because I do like to look at new games on the stream too. So, this is a game for the Mega Drive. It's called Tourmaline, and it's from Retrosouls. Now, this was actually, I think, was this one that was ported from the Spectrum? Did it say on the start there? Yes, ported originally on the Spectrum and ported to Mega Drive. There you go. So it was released on the Spectrum in 2015. It was ported to the Mega Drive this year. So we've got a bit of classic music here. But what is this? That was clever. Yeah, it should have probably been lovingly ported, shouldn't it? So yeah, it's a Boulder Dash type game, really, isn't it? Kyle Hodgetts would be turning green right now. Okay, I'm not this bad at Boulder Dash, honest. Green with envy, because he could only dream of producing a Boulder Dash game this stylish. I don't believe this scrolls, but not really the point, is it? Yeah, single screen Boulder Dash. And yes, Genesis homebrew. Now, there's quite a few of these Retrosouls games on the Genesis. I did not realise that so many of them had been ported. And they're really, really good ports. And they're good games too. They're simple concepts. I mean, that's what they do, these simple concepts for games. So in this case, you know, Boulder Dash. It's got a bit of scrolling here, in fact. So I was wrong when I said it's got no scrolling. There you go, a bit of scrolling. I thought being a Spectrum port it might not have. Well, yeah, so it's even more impressive than I thought it was. So we need more, do we? So it's got your standard Boulder Dash mechanics of, you know, crushing things to get more gems. Don't know where it tells you how many gems you need. I don't know. I've always kind of taken it for granted, Bob. But, Oh, you got bombs. There you go. Blow those up and get out the way. Can I take two at once? Nope. Now, obviously, this is not going to win points for originality. I've trapped myself. Have I? But I can't blow those up. Oh, I can blow those up. I'm assuming I've got limited bombs. Oh dear. Spanish and Dutch do. The Master System doesn't use an AY, so it would need some work Extreme Rec. The AI in the right hands was a very impressive chip. If you've ever listened to some like Spectrum music, you will know that well. It probably, if you tried to do it directly, it'd probably turn out like that Mario bootleg we looked at, where they ported NES sounds to completely the wrong chips without really considering the differences. Oh, I have to get rid of the enemies too. Ah, that's trickier. So it's actually quite tricky. Toffee. So yeah, I have to work out how to take out the enemies to get the gems they've got, which is kind of tricky on this screen layout. Oh, and you can't go next to them either because it's just like Boulder Dash. Yeah, the AUI on the Spectrum. I mean, I grew up with a Spectrum Plus 2, so it had the AUI. So, yeah, I love some of the AUI tunes. But you see, the thing is with the Mega Drive, it didn't really have a big selection of good puzzle games. It was really missing games like this, I felt. Oh, we can push that way. Interesting. Oh, I see. That's a strategy. Using my brain now, you see. First time for everything. There we go. Yeah, the Genesis had a lot of sports titles early on. It wasn't quite as sports heavy over here as it was in the US, for example. Is this actually meant to have an on-screen display showing you the number of bombs you've got left? Because it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, the Mega Drive emulation is faulty. I don't know. My play of a Boulder Dash clone is faulty though. But yeah, I mean, this is fast, it's smooth, it looks really good too. So, you know, my vote for this new little homebrew is definitely going to be a gem, I'd say. And, you know, it's a game with lots of gems in it, which, you know, it is one of the reasons I picked it. Stealing my gem. Okay, you can't blow up the gems at least. That is good. There we go. Jewel, yeah, jewel, not... I keep saying gem, not jewel. You know what I mean, jewel. Yes, it is. It shows that, you know, that there's more to these chips than you necessarily think. If you've only ever heard one style of music, maybe only ever heard stuff from the Gem sound driver, and then you hear things people are making, programming the chips in very different ways. There's quite a lot of SNES games that have a much more Euro sound because, you know, who was working on this music. But not so much the Mega Drive. It is rarer to hear a game that sounds like this on the Mega Drive. Yeah, I've still got a bomb. I don't know how I'm going to get those enemies. It needs thought. Yeah, there does seem to be a slightly slow drawing at the bottom of the screen that might be a MAME issue. Oh no, it's just the level counter, isn't it? Get rid of it. Yeah, okay, no. What am I doing? There we go. Strategy. Indeed. I mean, again, that's one of the interesting things with MAME doing non-arcade stuff. You get to hear sound chips used in all sorts of different ways that you might not be familiar with. Because... so close, so close, so close. Bombs don't explode after you've died. That's interesting. If you die, bombs no longer explode. There you go. But yeah, I don't want to play too much of that because it is just Boulder Dash. But I think I'm going to go with Jewel for that one because Stardo seems to agree with Jewel. Smedis is Jewel. Aussie Guy a homebrew gem. Yeah, I think it's unanimous on that one, isn't it? That's a really nice homebrew game. I mean, not every homebrew game I played is fantastic, but that one and most of those other Retrosouls ones are. I've lost the pen. Oh dear. One moment. Is it falling on the floor? Okay. I've definitely somehow misplaced the pen. I'll put it all the way over here. Why did I do that? There is a Bejeweled arcade game. There's yeah, there's a recent one. There's some clones of it too. So yeah, okay. Where were we? We were going to put Tourmaline in Jaws. Now, it should be noted that Tourmaline is not in the software list by default. I don't know if it'd be accepted if somebody used to add it, but who knows? If you want it, seek it out. It is free to download. Anyway, there we go. So, yeah, that one is now also on the Jewel list that is filling up very rapidly. I didn't plan this very well, did I? I should have done separate pages for Jewels. Or maybe I'll just have to start playing some bad games. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Well, that would be a bad game. I don't want to play a bad game just yet. Actually, I want to play a game that I don't have a final opinion on yet. Jaleco's Parallel Turn from 1984. Based on the title, what would you say Parallel Turn was? I would definitely not have thought it was going to be a skiing game, which is what it is. Joystick, 3 buttons. So yeah, it is a skiing game where, I don't know, I've not really played much of it, so we'll see. So you speed up. It's one of those hammer the thing button. And try and jump on a seat. And there we go. I'm going up on a ski lift. Now we've just got a speed up button. I don't know if I'm going the right way around these because they're turning black. Okay. Is black good? It does seem to not have much sound, so I'm going to guess there's maybe some discrete sound missing here, or a sound chip that's just not been emulated. But I'm not 100% on that. It's one of those where I don't have an original reference. I made it through the goal. Looks like I lost a ski in the process. And now we get a high jump. Yeah, you probably want autobar on the button, to be honest. So it is a multi-event skiing game. Ooh. I didn't do that very well, did I? There we go. You think this one's junk, Costado? I hear the static. That's the crowd cheering. Yeah, I'm on a keyboard. I'm just mashing the keyboard. And we're doing the stage. Now, I do like the animation on the main sprite. Well, I've got targets to shoot at. What? Okay. So it's trying to be basically different Olympic skiing events or something. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm not only skiing, I've also got a shooting stage there. I don't seem to have to aim up and down, which is handy. Missed them. Oh. Well, my keyboard isn't the quietest and my bashing isn't very refined, so I apologise for it not sounding very much like skiing. But obviously there are other skiing games, there's like Taito's Alpine Ski and there's newer, bigger, fancier ones. But I don't think there are any others that combine it with different ideas like this. I don't know how well emulated this is. I don't know if there's any special way to turn. I think this is just bashing buttons. I think this is just drag race with the sleighs. Vintage charm. Now rank 45. Speed up. Now it's looped back to this type of gameplay. Oh no, it's a bit different, is it? Oh, it is different. Sorry, I thought it was the same thing again. It's oh dear. I lost my ski. Evening, Mr. Midas. I'm doing pretty well. I'm just playing a bit of a... oh, yeah, you've got down to stop like that, so... Up doesn't seem to do anything in terms of changing how you ski. I guess I'm meant to follow the arrows. No. Parallel town. Yes, it's definitely not called town. On Kaneko's site, that's interesting. Is it a Kaneko game that Jaleco licensed, or did Kaneko license it from Jaleco? Well, you're only mashing one button. Yeah, it's a mixed sport skiing game by the looks of it. It's not really one I'd ever played much of before. It does have some protection that who knows if it's properly emulated. I mean, I seem to be lasting a long time on one credit. I mean, obviously it's just press button if discontinue for another 5 ski. I'll let it game over. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I didn't even get the high score. Oh dear. I was playing for that long, I didn't even get the high score. So opinions on this one. Kaneko developed it, Jaleco published. Ah, interesting. I don't think MAME reflects that, does it? Nope. Machine info. Yeah, it doesn't mention Kaneko in there. Doesn't change to Kaneko if it's that Japanese. So yeah, MAME should probably mention that then. Aussie guy. It should probably be at least Kaneko Jaleco license or something like that, or Jaleco/Kaneko. Meh. Yeah, I mean it's okay. The animation on the sprite's nice, but it doesn't seem overly compelling. It's a bit disjointed. It's like skiing, now you're shooting, and now you're skiing, and it doesn't always explain itself well. I didn't really know what I was meant to be doing on that last section. Average. You've got SB's dueling it though, and Smedis is soft dueling it, and 009 is dueling it too. Jaleco is Japanese. Is that an average from you, Bob? Competent but not great. That's another average. It's all right. That's another average. Yeah, I think we've got quite a few averages on this one, haven't we? So I'm going to put this one in average. It's going to be the first one to go in average. And again, I've only got about 2 lines to write average games, but there we go. I didn't have a place to write just average, but Parallel Turn is just average. Could have been a James Bond shooting ski game. It could have been an Archer shooting ski game, if you've watched Archer. Right, I should probably play some of the ones that I actually put on the picture, shouldn't I? Because that would make sense. Varia Metal, 1995, excellent system on Metro type hardware. Could have been lots of shooting ski games. Once upon a time. That is how you start every story. I guess the drink of tonight is where I definitely not modified the text on the bottle is some rum. It definitely came like that. Mixed with some ginger beer. Yes, excellent system are generally not known for being excellent. So we'll see how this one is. Now, all the music is badly sampled on this. It's got no proper FM chips. In fact, the OKI it uses is quite an uncommon one. Ooh, look at the fancy scroll effect on the title. Very lo-fi. Very, very lo-fi. As I say, we're dealing with 6295, but also 6585 at 640 kilohertz. Yeah, there were plenty. I have plenty of those stories too, Mr. Nidas 2K. Exactly, Bob. Let's coin it up anyway. Do you want it to be grey? Do you want to be grey? Not Earl Grey, just grey. Or do I want to be a Tuja? Well, actually, I can't be a Tuja unless I remap the keys, so I have to be grey. Attack on Uniterra. That's the university campus, I'm assuming. I have to mash fire on this. Okay. I wish this menu was sorted. Let's just... No mashing fire for me. Yeah, shooters where you have to mash fire tend to be annoying, so I've auto-fired it. Well, you can't have many shots on screen at once. It seems to have a limit of 3 shots on screen at once. That's not great. Look, there's glowing fish on the ground. Battered fish by the looks of it. Or fishing breadcrumbs. There's a fish cake. And also, I'm already noticing the collisions with the power-ups seem to have a tiny hitbox. Now, I know for bullet hell shooters, tiny hitboxes is normal, but if the collisions for the actual power-ups generally are kinder, you know, they're the bigger hitboxes for the power-ups because you actually want to pick them up. This just seems to have tiny collision on the tiny hitboxes on the power-ups. Yeah, this is an odd one in general. I mean, excellent system, Korean company, I believe, using basically the same hardware for video as some, you know, the Metro games, which is pretty high-end video hardware rather than just, you know, straight knockoff hardware. So for a Korean company to be using original hardware, it's kind of strange to see. But it does have that very generic shoot 'em up feel to it. Yeah, that's auto fire is a lifesaver at times. Oh yeah, you can use your bomb too, can't you? I'm assuming there's a charge shot. Yeah, if you charge shot, if you don't fire, you get your charge shot. Again, very standard mechanics. Actually, let me just redefine the other controls. I keep pressing the wrong button. There we go. Yeah, that's always been my feeling about it. I mean, I remember adding this to the Metro driver. Although I didn't do the sound. I think it was probably Mesh Drivers in the chat who did the sound emulation on this one. I also seem to remember it uses the sprites in a slightly different way to the other Metro games, like it uses double size mode or something that none of the Metro games used. No, they're not the worst Korean dev. But we can talk about many bad Korean devs. Komad. Are there any good Komad games? I don't think it's SunA even the worst. I wouldn't say SunA were the worst Korean dev either. SunA at least did their own games. They weren't great games, but they were their own games, not just, you know, stolen code. But yeah, my personal opinion of this one is it's kind of junk. I mean, look, there's no animation on your ship at all. Not even, there's no turn animation. It's just your ship. It's big and bulky. But say these lo-fi music that is forgettable. Low limit to shots. It sort of feels more like a home computer shooter from the early 90s, mid 90s. I'm sure if it was on the Amiga and there was an AGA version, people were going, "Oh, it's an amazing shooter on the Amiga. It's so smooth. There's all this colour." But yeah, there's a reason I didn't like shooters at that period in time. Most of them were kind of dull. No, I don't really like this either. SB. Komad, ESD, and Pro. I mean, ProMat I think more a publisher, but they did publish a lot of junk, yes, and also license some things you wouldn't have expected them to do. The one thing I don't understand is how Fuki ended up licensing ProMat, one of the Kicks hacks, because Fuki were Japanese companies, and one of the Korean hacks ended up licensed for using. So there's loads of dead air in this game too. I mean, there's nothing going on for a while, and then we get some kind of underwhelming boss. Talking good Korean companies, I'd go with Semicom. Semicom have got loads of good stuff. Who was it did the Come On Baby games? The dance ones. That's another Korean company. Exploitator or something like that, I think. They're not emulated though, they use PC type hardware. They're not in MAME. I think people have hacked them to run or something like that, but they don't run in MAME. Yeah, home computers tend not to be able to push around loads of sprites at 60 frames a second. Practice is over. Okay. The theme has changed. The enemies look the same. We've still got fish-shaped explosion craters. Even your charge shot is completely underwhelming. And the pouts don't change colour; they just fade off the screen. So you've not got that riding mechanic. There doesn't seem to be any depth to this in terms of the power-ups. To me, this game is just lacking in every department. Yeah, the X68K is an exception because that's more arcade-like hardware, more, you know, console-like hardware in a computer. Yeah, I'm going to put this one on the junk list unless anybody in the chat can make a good argument for it going anywhere else. Because to me, this is below even average. It doesn't have anything of note about it. Okay, you've got your option that can destroy stuff if you let it. And keep in mind, this is only tolerable because I've got autofire on, otherwise you'd be mashing the button this whole time. Oh dear, Spectrum 2000. Yeah, Spectrum 2000 that manages to be really glitchy even on original hardware. Because I've played it on original hardware, and the glitches are just a case of, yeah, we couldn't bother to actually put proper explosion strikes in some of the versions. That is my feeling on this game. Oh look, it gives me 20 seconds to decide if I want to continue. Maybe not seconds, but... yeah, it needs something a bit more to at least make it average. It doesn't do anything to note. Bishy Bashy Baby, yeah. I think it was quite a popular game, Come On Baby, actually. Yes, the 860k and FM Towns were rather expensive. So, Varia Metal, I think we can safely put that on the junk list, can't we? So, that one ends up in junk. Right. I wonder what to do next. I'm just looking at my list of potential games. Did somebody say SunA? Or SunA? Yeah, I know where the pen is this time. I put it behind the PlayStation last time. I forgot about it. That's an interesting RGB test without RGB. Nose tickling simulator. I'm out of drink. That is unfortunate. Somebody did like this game enough to report a bug in it and get it fixed a year or so back. So, coin it up. Man 3. Kind of reminds me of the profile screens you get in Godzilla type games. It has Mount Rushmore. I have that attack too. So you can kind of tell it's still got elements of, so you say, rough ranger in it. Oh yeah, the TNT explodes and kills you. There we go. I've got a flying ship. Kind of looks like flying ship as purchased and assembled. Well, IKEA flying ship. It does the job. Right, big robot. Is it off the screen? Big robot dies. Well, Goindo was also SunA, so possibly. It's also possible that one of them's got the wrong sound clock. You are just tall enough not to be shot at from standing on a crate. Just blow the TNT up early, it's annoying. Red gun. Now note, once you're firing your flamethrower, you cannot move. So in fact, the flamethrower, you can't climb ladders either. Just put that out there. You might think, oh, up the ladder. No, ladders are not to be climbed. It's a Black Panther, not from Konami's Black Panther, which definitely would go in the junk list. But we're not playing Black Panther, because we know Black Panther is junk. Is this junk? I don't know. Let's find out. I think I got run over by a tank. Actually, I do need to change the controls. Ooh, don't want to speed up. I keep forgetting because you can't press Alt and left the directions at the same time on most keyboards, so the default main controls are kind of bad for this when you have to fire up left. Because up left and Alt don't work at the same time on every keyboard I've ever used. One stage clear. And that's what, sort of the Lone Ranger type sound effect. And then we get a horse. Yeah. Because big metal spark guy needs a horse. Now, here we are at Dick's. Just because, you know, why not? But apparently we're also in Russia. You are liking this one, SP. It's very much a sort of janky Korean game. So this is not a power-up. You can jump and use it, but you can't move left and right and use it. I don't think you can jump up to the higher platforms like you can on Shinobi or anything like that. So that is slightly annoying. You're going with Duel on this one, aren't I? Relative to SunA's other output, I guess you could put it there. Yeah, enter your high score name and then continue playing. I pressed player 2, continue, didn't I? We now have a useless second player. So yeah, it is co-op. Unfortunately, playing co-op when you've only got one player is a bit tricky. So if you'll excuse me playing it badly now with 2 players, because I kind of messed up. So you're just going to have to pretend. You also do have a kick attack when you're close to an enemy, which is actually not a bad feature. I mean, a lot of these games, if you get too close, that's it, you're in trouble. But this one does give you a little kick attack, so again, maybe points for that. You know, it's trying to do a bit more. It's definitely less of a shameless rip-off than Rough Ranger, Super Ranger. There we go. I've got my main player back. Right, I keep jumping out of it because the first button is jump and the second button is shoot, which is not my preferred control mapping. Bit of a recycled boss again, but looks like the Flash poking his head out of there too. So yeah, probably one of SunA's better games. eSWAT Acid Trip. I think it's probably a better game than eSWAT, actually. The arcade eSWAT is very dull. This one does have a bit of character to it, doesn't it? Of course it's Madonna. It's it's a Korean game. Why would they not steal Madonna? Everything's going to be stolen from somewhere. I mean, I think the enemies are going to be... Some of them look like Rolling Thunder tracers, more so than even Rough Ranger. I think it might be the pink they're wearing that's not helping, because that's a very Rolling Thunder colour. So, what time are we? We're almost at 2 hours. Play another credit service and then we can move on to another game. I'm getting the impression people like this more than I thought they would. Maybe it's just got that right amount of Korean jankiness to actually be something of a duel. I mean, it's also better than, say, Atari's Thunder Jaws for its Rolling Thunder knockoff sections. But yeah, we'll call that one there, because otherwise you're just going to be watching me credit feed it, because I don't have any real skill. We seem to have, yeah, a lot of jewels in the chat. I do like Data East Robocop Cow. I think that's a pretty good one. But apparently, I think the jewels are winning, Wolfaz. A jewel with my face on it out of 10. I'm not drawing that. Not yet, anyway. So Sparkman becomes an unlikely entry in the jewel list. I have to say, I was not expecting that. I thought everybody was just going to rip that game to pieces. But, yeah, on reflection, it probably is one of the better SunA games or SunA games. So Junket's Jewel. A small jewel. Yeah, it's more fun than, say, Varia Metal was, and it's got more to it. There's some attention being given to the development there. Okay. Tugboat, 1982, Endertech. Beautiful, isn't it? Knuckle Bash. I'm not sure Knuckle Bash is that bad. I mean, it's a toe plan game, lo-fi. It's not their best, but isn't that a happy son? Navigate down river and into lock. Lock down into river and navigate to. Yes, Moppet Video Aussie guy. With a rendition of Popeye the Sailor Man. You can collect the boys or light up boys. You move left and right very slowly. Now, I think anybody with an 8-bit computer who did Programming Basic back in the day probably would have made a game very much like this one. There were all sorts of games like this in those basic game books. Plus, you know, you can pretty much make one by printing characters at the bottom of the screen. I made several myself. It was good fun. Yeah, this is a tile-based scrolling. In fact, the whole hardware, there are no sprites on this hardware. It's all tile-based. Got to get across the lock. Get across the lock. I think the colour prom needs dumping on. Bernstein Bears, Lord Dalek. Yeah, I said there are no sprites. It's not even set up as a tile map in MAME, so I can't show you the tile map. But it's just a tile map. Now it moves faster, but it's still choppy. And it doesn't improve the controls. Now, in its defence, this game was made for little kids. This was a mini arcade cabinet for kids to play on as a distraction. But I don't really think that excuses it. You could have done this for kids and made it a lot better than this. These controls are ridiculously unresponsive, for example. Thunder Jaws is a guilty pleasure SP. You like this better than the last game, Thomas? Oh, controversial, because the last one went into the dual category. Now the controls are more responsive, because this game makes no sense whatsoever. But oh yeah, you've got a button to use the horn. What's Morse code for saving from this game? Yeah, this one is pretty much junk, isn't it? Extreme Wreck. Like I say, I know it's for kids, but I don't think being for kids really excuses it. Okay, the hardware is not that capable, but again, then why use the hardware that doesn't do sprites or scrolling if you're going to make a game that would really require them? And there's nothing more to it, you're just repeating this over and over again. Yeah, Crazy C, this is boring junk. Again, I mean, how long is this going to keep your kid entertained for? And now the controls are really unresponsive again. Now, I don't know if that's an emulation thing, but on some levels the controls don't respond well, and on other levels they do. It makes no sense. The best part of it is the Popeye the Sailor Man rendition, which we can hear again. And that's all we need to hear from that one. I think Tugboat goes into junk, doesn't it? I don't know if they licensed the Popeye theme. I'm going to say they probably didn't. There you go. Tugboat is in junk. Now, the next one, if people vote it as junk, I'm going to be incredibly disappointed. Now, this was a budget game. It cost practically nothing. Keep that in mind. Snapjack's got all sorts of music. Smell this. Pre-copyright. That might make sense. This is the island of Dr. Destructo. And it's loosely based on Two Tigers arcade game, but if you ask me, this one is far, far, far better than the Two Tigers arcade game. Yes, Ryan, it is not a good one, is it? And thank you for emulating or helping to emulate the junk there. Right, I'm going to quickly bring up the slider controls on this one and stretch the screen a little bit, so we're using a bit more of it, because we don't really need overscan areas visible. There we go. Right, one player. This has got lots of levels, by the way. You've got to blow up the planes so they drop down and make holes in the ship. Once you shoot them, the explosion will move horizontally for a little while. Then it will drop down in a ball and blow a little hole in the ship. And if the holes get to the bottom of the ship springs a leak. And there's a day-night cycle going on here. And it's colourful. And the ships are creatively designed, and it looks good, and it plays really well on a keyboard. And there's loads of frames of animation and the rotation there. Also, it's really tough. You can end up playing it a long time on a single, a single go, but that's because it's got like 30 odd levels. Now, the first level, there's nothing that can really kill you. You can collide with any of these planes and be absolutely fine. It's just looks like the precursor from Orca. You're invulnerable on the first level, effectively, Bob, because the green planes can't kill you if you fly into them. That is by design. It's just teaching you the game. Now we get the blue planes, which, if we fly into, do kill you. So there you go. Don't fly into the blue planes. But there are strategies in terms of, you know, blowing up things in the right place so that they actually land where you're making holes. I think there's a time limit on the game, hence the day-night cycle. I can't quite remember. I seem to remember I used to run out of time playing it. But it's so much more stylish than Two Tigers, which is the arcade game that's very similar. I might put in Two Tigers in a bit. You know, I think this game cost $1.99, $2.99 when it came out, which is absolutely nothing. Also, yeah, strategy aim for the the thinner areas of the ship in the first place, because then you make bigger holes. Take forever to make a hole at the top there. Now, there's no music. I mean, that is maybe one of the slight complaints, and there is a bit of slowdown. But considering how slow a lot of CPC games run, this actually runs really, really well. And this is far better than the C64 version too. I mean, the C64 version runs a bit faster, but doesn't have any of the character of this. The art style here, I just love what they've done. The way it draws in the levels like that too. And now we've got a nice pink boat. Every level has character. It might be the same game. The enemy types do mix up. They become more difficult enemies. You get enemies that shoot at you in a few stages. But if you want a good CPC game, then this is definitely one I recommend. And there we go. Sky changes colour as it approaches night time. And even the ship changes colour. Look at that. It's gone from being pink in the day to a darker red to reflect that it's night time. This, you know, if you're asking me what the best Amstrad CPC games are, this holds up. Even when put against a lot of the newer developments, the modern developments on the platform, this holds up remarkably well. It's on the Spectrum too, but the Spectrum version is not very colourful at all. Again, it's the colours and the visuals that really set this apart from other similar games. You go with Junk Wolf-Ass. Ooh, controversial. Controversial, at least in my eyes. Yeah, I mean, it's not got the difficulty of an arcade game, so you know the difficulty from this one comes in the length of the game. That's the third level. There are about 30. So in terms of game balance, it wouldn't work as an arcade game, but it wasn't designed to work as an arcade game. This was a home game. There we go. Nice. So we've got some helicopters on this one that fire plunger-like missiles, and the number of blue ships, blue craft is now increased, so you have to be more careful where you're flying. Don't want to fly straight into anything. And eventually you do start to actually have to sink islands rather than just ships, which I guess is why it's called the island of Dr. Destructo. So it's got a little bit of comedy thrown in. It's like supervillain comic book style in places. Got that thing there to avoid too. I think it's like a radar scoping things out, and again if you collide with it you die. So the screen just become a little more cluttered with ones you can't just fly into. And there you go, I wrapped around the screen and flew into an enemy, but I have completed the level. It doesn't get much denser, Ryan, because otherwise it would run too slow, but the enemy types do get more difficult. There we go, you see we've got a nice little island now. See, last resort. And again, the levels have got their own little comical names. Yeah, I think some of they've got a bomber there, the yellow bombers. And again, with the yellow bombers you have to avoid the bombs. But your maneuverability is pretty good. I mean, I've got to about level 20 playing it myself before. You get plenty of lives. And you get extra life at the end of each stage, I believe. There we go. There we go. From night back to day. Oh, hit the bomb. And there we go. We've got a nice desert island now with the sand rendered in a lovely yellow. And I'm doing really badly at this game now. I believe I have 4 lives left. I might intentionally kill myself off now so we can move on to another game, because again, I can play this one for a good hour or two and not get bored of it, but I think people might want to move on a little bit, so let's just kill off my lives. Yeah, the day-night cycle is one of the things that caught my eye when I first saw the game back in the day. Maybe we can blow up an island or down. Oh. Let's see. 1 life left. There we go. So, loss of life too severe. There we go. Back to the title screen drawing. I think it's just a palette change. Yes. Again, this being a budget title, it's easily better than a lot of full-price games. And it does have a 2-player mode. You can play with a friend as well. Obviously, I can't demonstrate that here, but it's a co-op game. Yeah, I think somebody should do a modern port of that to something like the Genesis. You're right, Extreme Rec. They could do a really good job, but I don't think anybody has. Yeah, it does play to the strengths of the CPC. You're right, R09. I mean, there is a Spectrum version which is far less impressive. So, is everybody going to agree with me that that was a good game? I think I saw one. I think Wolfaz said junk, because it's not that frustrating, Wolfaz. I suggest give it a try if you haven't. It gets Bob's seal of approval on International Kissing Day. So it's a seal of approval, is it? Anyway, reminds you of Jet Strike, so it gets a jewel. Jewel. It doesn't feel cluttered when you're playing it. I think the low resolution may be making you feel maybe is more, and the collisions are generally forgiving. So yeah, let's put Dr. Destructo on the jewel. 5 bombs out of a palm tree. Okay, Dr. Destructo is on the list of jewels. There you go. Right underneath Mermaid. I'm not sure how this next one's going to control. But we'll try our best. The options. Extreme Rec, I think they just changed the palette. It's a simple palette entry. The CPC has a palette, so you just change one of the pens. Right. I'm tempted to put two tigers on later, which is the arcade thing that's similar. But Two Tigers is just a lot less interesting, a lot duller. It's not got all the nice effects or anything like that, and just visually isn't as appealing. But this is the Crystal Maze, which I have picked because it has a jewel on it, and it has, you know, one of the jewels of British TV and movies and everything else. His face right there, so you know it's already shown us 2 jewels, and the TV show was a jewel too. And this game was incredibly popular. So, he's giving us hints with his scary eyes and a slight raster split issue where it's not quite on the right line. Yeah, the issue with this game is really it's a redemption game. It's a game where you win money. It's one of those UK pub machines. So if it doesn't want to pay out, it's just going to make the games really, really difficult. Yes, it was a British game show, Extreme Rec, a very popular one, a very good one. Use the trackable, not trackball, trackable. And there's an escape button if you need it. I don't know what it's mapped to. Escape is just, let's make actually just Z. And the theme is from the original show. So you can choose different games. Let's go with a skill game. This is a 1.5 minute game. So I've got to put these in the right order so that the paint flows correctly. Does it work? Pink is going to the right place. Yeah, I definitely knew what I was doing there. Yes, Richard O'Brien is a very interesting man. And I won a crystal. Again, the raster split's slightly off there, about 2 lines. But definitely one of those iconic figures. So, shall we go with a physical game? This is a 1 minute game. Unlock the doors to reach the crystal. Oh, okay, this is one of those where playing keyboard's going to be better. So I've got to get the keys in order. You basically have to do this perfectly, otherwise you're not going to do it, I think. Wrong way. That was bad. But yeah, the games are very simple. And the hardware really wasn't built for gaming at all. The hardware was an add-on to a fruit machine. And really designed more for video fruit machines. But they clearly put together this team. Uh-oh, I'm running out of time. Can I get out in time? I think I can. There we go, got to the crystal. Yeah, this was a really popular redemption game because it follows the structure of the TV show. They might be very simple mini games, and the presentation values are there. I mean, you know, Barcrest didn't do that many really well presented games. In fact, I mean, you'd probably put the mating game in a similar category, but otherwise, this is sort of an exception. All facing sides must match. Okay. See if time is running out. I'm not going to do this. Escape. Leave. This was an absolute pain to get emulated, by the way. It's one I'd looked at for years, and it eventually got fixed as the result of something else that I think Ryan was working on. Let's go with skill game. Now, there are actually 3 Crystal Maze games based on the different... it's a very similar game. Based on the different seasons of the TV show. Really, the last one's got Ocean Zone, which wasn't in... the first. There's not one that matches that, is there? Oh dear. I'm not good at these puzzle games, especially not with a time limit. There's not one I can put there either, is there? Nope. Yeah, I'm going to have to get out. He's one of a kind in a good way. Oh, didn't really win anything in that zone, so we move on. You get plenty of game time out of this too, unlike most redemption games. So in space now, shall we go with... I'm always reluctant to the physical ones because quite often they're mashing the trackball type ones. Place them... Oh, this is... Yeah. This is where the slightly inaccurate trackball does not help. No, oh, put it in the wrong box, it increases the box counter as well. I need whites. Yeah, I'm not going to do this, am I? But it's the same as the show. It gets very tense if you're going to run it. No, I don't want blue. I don't need blue. No, 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 no. See, I'm going to get locked in because I didn't escape. So you've been locked in. One crystal to get out. And that gives you less of a chance on the end game. I mean, I don't know. I'd say this was an exception still to the redemption games. That's where it stands out. I collected one crystal, which gives me 5 seconds. Because I had to pay a crystal that I'd got to unlock it. Actually, this one, yeah, you have to pay the crystal. So I've got 5 seconds to get as many gold ones as I can and not the silver ones. At this point, it's more or less random. This is where the game just decides, are you going to get a prize or are you not getting a prize? And I got 13 of them and I got 5 silver. Which gives me 8. That's not enough to win anything. The thing is, for a redemption game, this is really good, crazy, Carl. That's the problem. I can't think of many more, at least in the UK, iconic redemption games, at least of the period, than this one. I mean, you've got your deal and no deal ones more recently, but they're just too many of them. I mean, to me, it is a bit janky, but it's still got something about it. Yeah, it's fun in a pub with a couple of mates around. And you get really good game time out of it. I mean, you get to play all the... It doesn't matter how badly you do get to play the zones and get to the Crystal Dome. So you get a good 10 minutes play out of it. So I mean, I have to personally say this one's a jewel. Yeah, the games are all very simple mini games. But, yeah, I mean, they're not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, personally, I wouldn't go out of my way to play a redemption game. This just about has enough elements to be more like a real game. A simple one, but more of a real game. I do love this title screen. Too British, you have to abstain. I mean, it captures the mood of the TV show. That's another thing I like about this one. But the final level in Time Crisis didn't render properly. Lo-fi kills. I mean, there have been improvements in that driver in recent years, but I've never really played it that much. So I don't know. You might want to try it again. Yeah, I think it is Barcrest's best game. So Aussie Guy thinks it's well executed. They didn't do that many Custado. The other companies doing the more recent ones, the Monopoly and the Cluedos and like that. But this is better than those, because those just kill you off instantly. You know, you get one wrong answer on a question and suddenly it's like, okay, game over. You give it a duel. Yeah, I think there's more duels. Yeah, the trackball's awkward, but again, the trackball made it stand out. So I'm going to put this. I'm going to put the Crystal Maze, and that's the second Crystal Maze game. Although I'm just going to put the Crystal Maze in duel, because I think while it's a redemption game, it's a redemption game that actually gives you something to play. Actually, I'll write it down as the Crystal Maze 2. Because it technically is the second of them. Duel for its category, yeah. Right. Now, because I like my spinning jewels, let's have a look at stack columns. We have another spinning jewel on the title screen. It's just an effect that looks so good if pulled off correctly. This sort of pre-rendered shiny jewel effect. This is obviously columns. Jewel Master, you mean the one from the Plug and Plays? Wasn't in my list for this stream. I mean, there's going to be a whole month of these Jewel or Junk streams, Extreme Rec, so I might consider that one for another stream. Now this is the casino themed columns game, and it's more of a true sequel to Columns than Columns 2 was, and it's a versus game. You've got beginner or expert. Obviously I'm an expert. Oh, the Sega Genesis Jewel Master. I'm trying to think which one that was. Is that one of the RPGs, or I can't remember which one it is. Yes, I was indeed going on about red and blue balls last stream, and now loving my jewels. Yeah, there's a plot, a very silly plot. I'm facing Assad, the Arabian Oil King Scorpion. In fact, there's a bit of a plot twist at the end of this one, from what I remember. I'm not going to be completing it, but I won't spoil it for you. If you do play it all the way through, there is a whole story. They've made a Columns game with a story. You see, I'm building up the chips there, and I can attack with them as it wants to show me. Although, since I didn't attack, and they did attack, I lost my chance to attack. So I can attack like that, you see. But the thing, automatic will automatically attack as soon as it can. Manual mode does not. I really should start building some chains as well. There we go. There we go. I can attack with 2. So this, unlike Columns 2, I feel does build on the formula. I'll admit I didn't really like the whole casino theme at first, because it just reminds you of gambling and but the more I played it, oh, that was a waste. The more I decided I do actually quite like this one as a sequel. And the AI works quite well. It gets more difficult, as you'd expect, which means you're not going to see me play too much of it, because at some point I'll just be going, oh dear, I'm about to lose, and lose. That made sense. Oh, I've won in this case though. Yeah, the ending does R9. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the ending does. It's not what you'd expect from a Columns game. But this is well presented, and yes, now I am facing a genius monkey. You can already see it's getting a little bit strange. I think Lord BBH did show the ending on one of his main roulette streams. In fact, I think he revisited it just to show the ending again on I think one of the highlight streams. So if you find, I think one of his highlights, best of MAME roulette streams, I think it's on there. But so all the Vegas levels have the same basic background, and then you move on to a different area, and it mixes it up a little bit. Problem is, I think it's maybe not the most enjoyable one to watch because it's columns, it's a puzzle game, and I know people don't always find those too entertaining to watch. Let's attack you with that. Now if I use up there, it'll send the opposition up again. Oh, that wasn't a very good one. Misplaced that. Very simple music. It's in the background, but it doesn't distract you. Again, maybe I was expecting more from the music, but then again, Columns 2 went too far with the music, whereas this doesn't distract you from playing. The computer does get annoying when it keeps cancelling your drops, but that's just the game mechanic. Yeah, I'm going to lose here. Oh. Don't get anything for that. Because it was from the yeah, you don't get any chain thing from the special piece. I forgot that. That is one of the things that catches you out. If you use the special piece, you don't get the attack from it. Oh dear. And that is a losing animation. It's because you're stacking the poker chips and then using them to attack Smedis, I think. You like this one, Smedis? I like this one too. Oh yeah, look at the high score name entry. It's timing your name entry by dropping it down. That's very clever. You know how long you've got to enter your name because it is dropping into the pit. I mean, that's creativity on its own. Yeah, the monkey beat me. And the monkey spanks himself. Indeed. You know, I've grown to really like this one. When I first emulated the C2 platform, I liked the title screen, but I didn't really think much of the game. But I don't know. I've just you know, I've just started to find it's probably my favourite in the Columns series, because Columns 1 is a classic. Columns 2 is terrible because it's just flash columns. This has character. Columns 3, I don't know, Columns 3 seems just more like the home version of this, although it also got released in the arcade for the Mega Play. And then you've got themed ones like Hanagumi Columns, which is just themed columns. You think Columns 3 is better, Extreme Rec? I'll have to have a look at Columns 3 on another one. And you say the music, and you like the music better in Columns 3. But the Columns 3 music wouldn't fit with the theme here. This is more the music you'd expect to have in a casino while you're gambling your money away. And this has got a creative story. SB, there is a Tetris gambling game in MAME. There's payout price Tetris, and it's as unfair as you'd expect it to be. It runs on the same hardware as the Crystal Maze almost. MPU4 board with video add-on. Oh yeah, the gem changes colour on the title screen as the attract cycle goes too. So, you know, it was a red gem before, now it's a gold gem. Columns 97. We don't talk about Columns 97. It's a mess. Now, Columns 97 I might have played, but the sound emulation doesn't work in MAME because it tries to do some sort of DMA operation and wipes out the entire sound program. But Columns 3 is a high-resolution Saturn hardware game that's full of pre-rendered graphics and kind of just looks over the top. I don't know, it doesn't have a good look to me. Also, it's a mix of high-resolution and low-resolution backgrounds that puts me off. But yeah, there was Columns 97. If it was emulated better, I might play it, but I don't like it as much. But yeah. I attempted to spank the monkey while playing, but the monkey ended up spanking him. The monkey did end up spanking me. You don't like it, Custado? I mean, if you put beginner on, it will automatically attack, which is a bit easier. Columns 3 is on the Genesis and it's on the arcade Extreme Rec. It's Genesis hardware. I mean, this is sort of Genesis hardware, but not exactly. You not like the arcade one? Okay. I think most people think this. I mean, I guess you think this is okay, Extreme Rec. You just like Columns 3 better. Lord Dalek thinks this is a dual best Columns game. Gets thumbs up from Bob. Thumbs down from Gustado. Piqued SB's interest. Aussie guy says it's a gem. A jewel. I think I put it in jewels. I think the general reception there is positive. So despite running out of room in jewels, I'm going to put this one up as stack. I'm going to put that one up there. Right, it is 2 hours and 36 minutes into the stream. Pardon me. I need to look at more bad games. More average games. Okay. Age of Heroes, Silk Road 2, 2001, Unico. So this is a sequel. The original Silk Road is also in MAME. I'll have to play Columns 3 a bit more than Extreme Rec. It's not one I spent much time with, I'll admit. Maybe I'll decide I like it more than I like Stack Columns. So there's some fairly nice art in the intro here. Interestingly, there don't appear to be any demo sounds. At least they're not turned on. Configuration. Oh, look, it's got a fancy configuration menu. There we go. Demo sounds on. Far better. Return. That should have some. I'll be showing my junk and my jewels. Hopefully not, unless there was some wardrobe accidents. Is there any music or anything in this part of the demo? Or okay, apparently there are no demo sounds in this part of the demo. You're going to turn demo sounds on. Let's insert a coin and play the game. So yes, it's subtitled Silk Road 2. Almost as if they kind of want to hide the fact that there was another Silk Road game. Shall I be the assassin? Story in English. Surprisingly well written for a Korean game. There appears to not be much bad English in there. I thought Unico was Korean, Aussie guy. Am I wrong with that? Yeah, plenty of story. shot. Remember. And then you get to the game, and yeah, plenty of story. A bit too much story. I'm not convinced by the sprite model. I mean, the intro art was really nice. The sprite models here are really awkward pre-rendered models. There's some nice combo effects. The controls are quite stiff. It looks impressive when you're flying around doing attacks like that. I'll give it that. It could be there's a volume balance issue. Oh yeah, it's much better than Silk Road 1, but... oh dear. You also have to consider that Silk Road 1 did not set a very high bar. It does still suffer from the, hey look, we pre-rendered all the sprites with really bad models. Now, I honestly don't know what people are going to think of this one. There were clearly better arcade beat-em-ups coming out in 2001. No, I don't like the visuals in game at all, and it's, you know, it's much better than Silk Road 1, but it's still, it's not even just the rendering. I mean, the hardware is actually capable of displaying plenty of colours. I think the 256 colour tiles. But they're just really bad models. There's a variety of moves, as you can see. I'm doing spinning attacks there too. I think there's some secrets. I can't remember though. Can you push this board with a shovel? Yeah, you can see. Open a door. So to me, this feels like they want to do the IGS style of game, but on a really low budget. I can go into that as well. That was cheap. That was cheap twice. It's a comical sound effect. Now it does have the item wheel here as well, so you can choose a special weapon, special move to attack with. You can even bounce on people's heads. That's the thing, they've got some decent gameplay in here. It's just really quite ugly. Yeah, if they'd stuck with the art style we saw in the intro, this would have been much better. Oh dear. There you go. It's 4 buttons, so you know you select your special thing like that, and then you use it like that. And there's loads of different special things to pick up. And again, it's got that level of content. But it does feel like something like Knights of Valor or Oriental Legend, or even the Gladiator on a budget. Fancy effects in the background. This was the start of the 2000s. This is 2001. Bounce on your head. Again, a lot of beat-em-ups wouldn't let you do that. And do a charge attack down. You're off, Custado. Take care and good night. Thank you for joining. I'll see you on the next one, I hope. But yeah, if I compare this to, say, Gaia Crusaders, or even the Neo Geo Sengoku 3. I would definitely rather play this one. Because it feels like there's more to do. You feel like you're in control of more. I'm not sure it would sales. I mean, by the time this came out, arcades for 2D games were pretty much dying out, so I don't know if doing a different art style would have really helped. I think they went for this because it was probably cheaper. So, would having better art have sold enough additional copies to balance it out? I don't think it would have done. Yeah, Denji Makai 2, it's a little bit stiff, but it's a good game. Hey Big Winner 9001, welcome to the stream. You are just joining. This is Age of Heroes, Silk Road 2, which I think is kind of overlooked. But we will let the chat decide where it belongs in a little bit. I'll probably play it another 5 minutes. But also at the same time, at this point, arcade goers who wanted beat-em-ups didn't have a great amount of choice. You know, there weren't many coming out. You had the IGS games, and you had the odd Neo Geo game like Sengoku 3, as I mentioned. Then things like Gaia Crusaders, and then you had this. So I think players are going to have given it a chance anyway if they saw it, because it's a beat 'em up they've not played before that might have something to offer. Duel outside of the graphics. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. So that is this character model especially is just horrible. When you've got one of the main characters with one of the worst models, that's not a good start. But I should really remember to use my weapons as well. I'm not really demonstrating the gameplay too well because I'm not using. Well, look, there we go. I've got special attack. There we go. See, I can use a different special attack. So you do have to remember you've got those. They're quite effective. They're quite powerful. The sound's not even too bad actually for one of these games. I mean, it does have an actual YM2151 in the mix, so it's not just looped samples, which again puts it above a lot of other Korean games. The HD IGS games, they're PGM3 and they're probably running some Linux system, and they're heavily encrypted, and it might be a modern encryption that we can't even crack at all. I mean, it's the one. Knights of Valor 3 is a PGM3 hardware game. I think it's the only PGM3 game they did. I've got not enough money for anything. After that, they probably just moved on to PC platforms. I think by this time, CGI was probably cheaper for this, otherwise they wouldn't have gone this route. Also, if you look at some of the Neo Geo games, all the Sarah stuff, I think it must have started to become rather cheap at that point too, because you know they went over the top with it, and I don't think they did it because it looked better, because it definitely didn't look better on the things like Ragnarok. I mean, a lot of Korean games did just use MIDI outright, Big Winner. This one doesn't have a MIDI playback chip. This is actually proper 2151 and 6295 for percussion. Very similar to popular arcade systems. Whereas some of the Korean games did just use chips that added to this MIDI playback. This wasn't one of them. But yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, back in the 80s, early 90s, CGI was pretty expensive, so you wouldn't have gone that route. But after that, it must have started to get a lot cheaper, or there were people that would do it for cheap. I've got no special weapons left, unfortunately. Is that a cow? Is that a cow pickup? I think I picked up a cow. A very small cow. So, this isn't an IDS game, John. This is a Unico game. Although most IDS games did have some level of localization. Just not always complete, which is why some of them crash if you set the language to English. Oh, airborne enemies. Everybody's favourite. Still got no special weapons. Flying carpet. Yeah, Lightwave. What was the other Amiga one? Imagine, I think I had on the Amiga. Anyway, let's count down. What do you mean I've got more than 3 letters? Did you know that owning any part of a bald eagle is illegal in the US? I did not. Is that true? I've never thought about owning a bald eagle, and I'm not in the US. I'm assuming being bald isn't illegal, but that's not really owning a bald eagle, is it? Yeah, I don't know if there'd be a version with Korean voices, but I think in Korea they probably prefer English voices over Japanese voices. So it kind of maybe makes sense. But yeah, this art style in the intro is far better than the art style in the game. That would be stupid, yes. So, what do people feel about this one? Is this a jewel or a junk? I mean, the gameplay seems really good. There seems to be a lot of different moves. There were secrets, characters. You've got your full item system, just like an IGS game. You go with Extreme Reg. You go with Dual Extreme Reg, yeah. Carla goes with Junk. Oh, we've got a Dual and a Junk. We've got a sort of Dual from Stephen. See, my vote is Dual. We've got a slightly tainted Dual from John. We've got a Dual from Mo. We've got Painful on the Eyes from SB. Somewhere in between from Big Winner. Average from Carl. Junk from SB. Jewel from Smedis. Not sure from R09. We seem to have quite a few jewels again. And on the basis of the effort put into the gameplay, I mean, yeah, I think the jewels seem to be winning at the moment. The graphics do take it down to average in game. Bob thinks it's just average. You agree with Smedis? Yeah, that makes sense. Unico game when they actually tried. And it's a lot better than Silk Road 1. I'll give it that. Mayor from Aussie Guy. Yeah. No, Unico definitely have all the hallmarks of being a Korean company. You know, they're slightly knockoff Tumble Pop hardware for earlier games and the like. I think Jules are winning it here. Maybe I should actually do a straw poll thing for the next stream. I should look into that. Then I could actually get opinions without having to try and add them up in my head. Very divided, but generally pushing towards the positive. And I don't want too much in the just average category. I want some decisiveness, and I think the Jules are winning on this one. Yeah, D&D had better art, but again, by the time this came out, I think everybody had played D&D to death and maybe wanted something a bit different. You know, something at these different stages. Now, at the end of these streams, I'm probably going to go back on these lists and see if there's any we want to move. So once like this where there is a divided opinion, we might come back to and have a look at later and see if maybe it can be dropped down to just average. I don't think it's going to get dropped down to junk, because most of the opinions being given were average or jewels. Yes, I'm sure if I did a straw poll on final lap games, there would mysteriously suddenly be 150,000 votes. 8. I'm going to say there's time for 2 more games this stream. I'm going to start with Pac-Man Plus. Now, I know exactly where this one stands with me. You're just waiting for the cow stream. There will be a cow stream. Will the cow stream be part of the Jewel or Junk series? It can be. You think Pac-Man Plus is a Jewel big winner? Interesting. Pac-Man drinking Coca-Cola colorized. Now, I'm seeing a lot of jewels coming in for this one, and that surprises me. And it's not just because I'm bad at it. There's more Coke that's just got away again. It's a bit faster than Pac-Man. But the ghosts don't kind of have that iconic look. They have a little blue flag above their head. Now we'll get to the second level. But what they actually change in this game is the effect of the power pills, the power-ups, and I don't think it's an improvement. I mean, you're not seeing it so much on this level, but a few levels in, you see that one of the ghosts didn't change. It has the power-ups are much more random. Sometimes they will do really stupid things, like making the ghosts invisible, or making. I collected that item. Now the ghosts became invisible for a while, so I had no idea where they were. Also, they became energized for no reason I could understand. I think that might have been wine. It's a cocktail. Same cutscenes. They've not changed the cutscenes. See, one of the enemies is now invisible. One of them didn't change. The AI is different. The ghosts move in. See, my issue with this one is it feels like a ROM hack of Pac-Man with really annoying features that are just designed to mess around with you. Pac-Man, simple rules. You collect the energizers, you eat the ghosts. You don't have ghosts going invisible on you or not changing. Okay, there we go. One ghost didn't change. It's not even consistent between levels. All ghosts change. This is the first level. Last time I did the first level, all the ghosts changed all the time. This time, you know, I'm getting the pattern of ghosts not changing. That time they all changed. you know, it's clearly been done. It's just an official release, that's the thing. It's clearly been done to try and reduce the amount of time people were spending on the machines. Because the one thing with Pac-Man is, you could learn the patterns. So people would learn the patterns, and they would play the game for hours until the kill screen. The fact this game adds this random element to it, you'd never quite... So the blue ghost didn't change. If that blue ghost had been right next to me, that would have been a problem. The random element means you can't pattern it. You don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not sure. To me, that yeah, say they're invisible, but we can eat them. That is always the case, I believe, with those. But the random element means you can't master the game. You like it better than the original Aussie guy. There definitely seems to be lots of randomisation on this. I mean, personally, I think it really hurts the game. But, you know, I'm willing to see what people have to say. Look, now the Maze Wars have gone invisible. If you didn't know it was meant to do all these things, you'd probably think there was some emulation bug. It can be mastered. So, is the randomness somewhat deterministic? Is it based on the number of points you have or something like that? Because I don't know how you could master it if you don't know what the ghosts are going to do. Yeah, the power pillars don't last long either. It starts off at quite a high difficulty. To me, it ruins the game. As Carlo says, like the harder version of Tugboat. But Aussie guy likes it better than the original. And quite a few people jumped in immediately with Jewel because it's Pac-Man. And Stephen seems to think it's fairer than... I think it probably is... normal hard. I'm saying dit switches. It's more difficult. To me, it feels like a ROM hack. But obviously some people like it. I mean, Stephen's defending it here, which Stephen thinks it's a jewel. I mean, I don't see many people talking about it in terms of being a classic the way Pac-Man is. And I think it was done by Borley, not Namco themselves, but it's still official because it was fully licensed. But you know, everybody raves about Miss Pac-Man. This not so much. It's quite nice that eating the fruit in the centre, or cola cans in this case, does also like, eat the ghosts, even if they're invisible. That's maybe a more positive change, and it doesn't seem to be as random as the rest. Big Winner thinks it's junk now. SB thinks it's too challenging. I don't think experts, if you can use that term there in the context, Mick, would be impressed by the randomness. I mean, the thing is with people like that and Pac-Man, they just memorised all the patterns and played on autopilot. So unless there is a deterministic element to the randomness, like it's based on the score, which I don't know, I've not studied it in that detail, then you can't just rely on muscle memory to play it. So Stephen likes it. It's got too challenging. Stephen likes it. It's got some jumps. Extreme Rec gives it a jewel. So we've got 2 jewels. Let me cut out it. Yeah, I don't like what they changed to the graphics there, but it's not a ROM hack Lord Dalek. It's an official release. Aussie guy gives it a gem. Lord Dalek average, but no, it's an official release. Lord Dalek. It's even included on some of the officially licensed plug and plays. I guess Carlo doesn't like it. At the moment, it seems we based on my reading, we seem to be split down the middle on this one. Smedis thinks it's junk. It's definitely split opinion, this one. Yeah, Pac-Man CU is really good. That's a new game, though. Very divided. I think this one might end up going in average because there's a good balance of junks, jewels, and averages. Yeah, Pac-Man CU is really good, but Pac-Man CU is like from last year or something. I'm going to put this one in average. I genuinely thought everybody would hate this one, so I'm surprised that people actually like it. But you know, this is what these are about. So I can't put it in junk because there are quite a few people, including like Stephen, saying they like it. Actually, saying there are patterns you can develop for it, which I wasn't aware of. I thought this was unpatternable. I thought that was the point of it. Personally, I'm not a fan, but clearly people are. Yeah, Pac-Man 2600 is garbage. But I'm going to put Pac-Man Plus in average because, one, we don't have many in average, and yeah, it did seem to split the opinion. So that goes down there on the just average. I mean, I don't really like Double Dribble as a game, Jonathan, but that's just my opinion on that one. Right, I think we're going to go with one last game. Kengo, also known as Lightning Swords, an IRM game. So you have mastered the game, Stephen. That's impressive. Have you got any videos of it? Because I'd be interested in seeing somebody playing Pac-Man Plus well. So let's coin this one up. And again, let's change the keys. You like Kengo? Oh, this is an up to jump game, of course. So it's a walk along, slash him up, really, isn't it? You have a charge shot like that, you see. Now, a lot of IRM games get talked about all the time. This one, I don't think that many people mention it. It was one of the later ones to be emulated. So maybe that's why. For a long time this one was a non-working IRM game. It's definitely got a good art style to it. I think it only uses a single button. The other buttons don't seem to do anything. My character has multiple frames of animation. I might look at Dream Life Superstar on another stream. This is going to be the last game for this stream. I've not covered any plug and plays on this one, but yeah, it's definitely worth looking at some of the plug and plays on these streams because a lot of people just think they're all junk. But that Dream Life Superstar one does seem to have its fans. And, you can experience me living the life of a teenage girl. wave of ninjas, not good for me. Yes, there's some nice music on this one. I should expect from a normal game. The gameplay's a little simplistic. And if we were talking about Age of Heroes having lots of moves and in-depth gameplay, this one instead really just seems to have the movement and attack. I don't think there's anything more complex about it. Yes. You think this one is average extreme reg? Smelly since this one is a duel. Do you think it's junk, Carlo? Ninja Spirit? Yeah, I think Ninja Spirit probably is a better game. But is it junk or is it average? Because, you know, being not as good as Ninja Spirit is a high bar. I don't think it's trying to be Ninja Spirit, because Ninja Spirit was also Iron. You know, they're trying to create a different game here, not just a Ninja Spirit clone. Oh dear. You can slash the boulders, yes. They are no match for the sword. Lightning. So wannabe Kornob. Wishes he was Data East's iconic mascot. Rust and E-swap vibes. You think it's a dual mech? Yeah, it does have a bit of those to it. I mean, it's not quite got the climbing mechanics of Rasta, but it does have that hack and slash platform. And I think it's better than some other games that are done in the same style. I do wonder if the alignment issue on the status bar at the bottom left is a real game issue or a main issue, because there's a 1 pixel gap there. But 1 pixel gaps do happen in real games. Visually, I like it. I mean, that might just be a palette cycle effect on the waterfall, but it still works. We've got a stone man built of multiple sprites here. You can jump over them. It's turned into balls. Yeah, it's mostly been an arcade stream, this one, with the odd CPC and Mega Drive game thrown in. Future streams might have more non-arcade stuff. I'll have to have a look after the stream, Stephen. But yeah, it does surprise me to hear. I always thought that was just one of the things that they made it impossible to pattern. Well, I guess the intention was it was going to be impossible to pattern, but then people found ways to pattern it anyway. It's not the pattern used, though. Or is it a case of, do the patterns only work from power on state, or are the patterns work whenever you play it? So one thing I noticed on it was that, you know, the second playthrough, it was much more random on the first stage than the first. So if it's only patternable from power on, it would have done the job in the arcades of stopping people to pattern it. But if it's always patternable regardless of when you're coin up, then that surprises me. I mean, I'm kind of glad that's the case, because if it was just completely random, yeah, it's nice and smooth. I mean, some IRM games do have slowdown, Carlo. If you look like Gunforce 2, that has got a ridiculous amount of slowdown. But yeah, this one's nice and smooth. But Gun Force 2 runs in slow. Gun Force 2 has got like Metal Slug 2 levels of slow motion. Maybe the NASCAR team just didn't like games with 2 in the title. But anyway, I'm probably going to be ending the stream fairly soon because we are over the 3-hour mark. In fact, we're 15 minutes over it. So yeah, I'll probably play out this credit, then we'll quit. So opinions on this one? So far, I'm getting the impression that people mostly like it. You had a Pac-Man Plus next to Super Locomotive, so yeah, that would have given you plenty of time to learn it. The patterns work from level 2 onwards. Average from the ogre. Alright, well let's see. Aussie Guys is alright. If forced, you'd go with Duel. Big winner average. Can I play Ton Demo Crisis on the next stream? I'll note it down, big winner. I'll note it down. If anybody does have any suggestions otherwise, do leave them either in the comments or on my Twitter. I'll try and incorporate them if I get to time. Alright, we've got a Duel from SB. Extreme Rec agrees with the ogres saying average. Steven says okay-ish. John says artworks Duel gameplay seems average. Carlo average. Lord Dalek average. Yeah, the averages are definitely winning on this one. Oh, nice, says Duel. But I think we've got a lot of averages. I'm noticing a pattern with this one. So, Kengo, aka Lightning Swords. Nothing to do with Barbie dolls. Goes in average. So there we go. At the end of the stream, we have a list of duels, we have some junk, and we have some average games. So yeah, I will say keep a record of what we decide in each stream. And I don't know if the ogre wants to note down where we put each game in the timestamps, because that can be a useful reference. But no pressure if you that's extra work. I might note them down somewhere else myself. Yeah, I'd say some of them are going to have to go in average, and as good looking at as it is, the very simple one-button controls, the gameplay is having Harry a suggestion for next time, Carlo. I'll note it down. But yes, we are quite a bit over the 3-hour mark now. So yeah, the ogre puts the timestamps on. I still need to check if I can actually integrate them into the video slider Barbie thing, but they're really handy. So yes, the ogre always, and every single video I've got of these streams, the ogre has put the timestamps in the comments, which is really, really handy if I'm looking for stuff. So yeah, thank you to everybody, and thank you to all joining in with the Duel or Junk thing there. We've got quite a few opinions, and say some of them might get moved around at some point. You know, towards the end of the month, we might review some of them, and yes, if you want to play some of them and form your own opinions to see if maybe they're more enjoyable, if you're better at the game, and things like that. But yes, time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like a banana. Indeed, Bob. Indeed, they do. So thank you to everybody. I don't know when the next stream will be. Hopefully not too long. I mean, I've got plenty that I was going to do for this stream that I can carry into a next stream. So preparation time for another stream with no particular game theme will be low. So it might be in the next few days. Anyway, take care, everybody, and I will see you soon. It's been fun. So bye bye.